Hello everyone, my name is Chance Sweeney, and I am a game designer. In this video, I'd like to show off something I've been working on for the past 3 semesters. It's a game I've been calling Gun Mayhem. Now, Gun Mayhem is a third-person shooter with a shared resource system known as Equilibrium. But before I can show you the system, let's go back and see how this project came to life. Throughout my life, I've spent a lot of my time playing video games, starting from the early consoles such as Nintendo 64, Xbox, PlayStation, and even the Game Boy. Games have evolved quite a bit since then, but we still enjoy them all the same. One particular genre I loved playing as a kid was co-op games. That's all I ever wanted to do when going over to a friend's house. Screw everything else, let's just play some Halo. However, co-op games aren't nearly as popular today as they were back then. I hope to change that one day starting with Gun Mayhem. It brings a whole new mechanic to the scene with a shared resource system known as Equilibrium. There are 2 parts to the system: matter and energy. Player 1 and Player 2 can only use one of these 2 parts. If Player 1 is bound to the matter side, he can only spend that resource, which means Player 2 is bound to the energy side and can only spend that resource. Well, okay, Chance, that all makes sense so far, but what does this resource even do? This resource has a variety of uses. Example 1. It is a spending resource for player abilities like healing, grenades, and even reloading. You must have the required amount of resource in order to use them. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, here's the catch. Once a resource is spent on one side, it is then converted and transferred to its opposite. So if player 1 were to spend 20 matter resource to use his grenade ability, then player 2 will now have 20 more energy resource to utilize. This creates an imbalance of the 2 resources, breaking the equilibrium. And that is the heart of this mechanic, that back and forth of spending resources and creating this imbalance. While the resources are imbalanced, the player with more resources becomes more powerful, while the player with less resources becomes weaker. This creates a sort of seesaw effect between the 2 players. Sounds cool, but there is a glaring issue with this. What's stopping player 2 from hogging all the power? In order to encourage players to play seesaw with their resources, we need to reward them in some way for completing the seesaw effect. So, every time that imbalance shifts from one player to the other, both players get a stack of Universal Balance. Universal Balance is a stacking buff that benefits both players and, when they have enough, they will get access to powerful abilities such as Stim Boost. Stim Boost costs 10 stacks of Universal Balance, but grants both players an 8-second buff that gives them double speed, double fire rate, and infinite ammo. Having all these wonderful rewards should incentivize players to cooperate in order to get the max benefit out of the system, and this only scratches the surface of what this mechanic can do. For example, let's take a look at this passive skill tree. This skill tree could prove to be a really nice addition to the game to help with player progression or add more interesting interactions with Equilibrium. One example of a passive ability is Panic Stealth. Going below 10% of one's resource will cause that player to go into a stealth mode, where enemies won't be able to detect them for 5 seconds. This gives one player a really nice boost in damage due to the massive imbalance in resources, while the other player can utilize their stealth in order to reposition themselves for an even greater advantage. Now that I've explained how everything works, let's watch some gameplay of how this could all play out.
Getting those stacks up.
Really make it so those doors just stay open. Okay. I'm very low.
You're fine, sure. Or yeah. Well, I might not be able to.
Once again guys, my name is Chan Sweeney, and this is Gun Mayhem. Thank you for watching.